you look at the trends of these goalies this year, like we were talking about with the Sorokin, even Vasilevsky, it took a while for him to get going. A lot of these bigger name goalies have been a little down for their standards this year. And you being a guy that's been a journeyman goalie, a backup goalie at certain teams, a starter with some others. And do you think that like platoon system that you saw Vegas do a lot and some of these other teams do in the playoffs could become more trendy in the NHL?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, especially when you see that they actually won with that, right? I mean, I don't think anyone and like I saw the interview with Drew Doughty as well, because everyone was questioning the 1-3-1, right? And as long as you're winning, I don't really think that anyone cares, right? And some part of the regular season it's like about entertainment, right? But the biggest thing that the fans care about is winning. So as long as you win, it fixes everything.
Well, don't say that to the Rangers and Islander fans, because the Rangers haven't won since 1994 and the Islanders haven't won since the 80s. So,
yeah, I know. But it's been a long time since a Canadian team has won it too. So.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you're a Toronto fan, I mean, that team with the talent they've had over the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, the fact that they have only won one series in the last 10 years is just absolutely a joke. I mean, look at the talent on that team right now. I mean, it's from top to bottom one of the most talented teams in the league. You have arguably the third best player in the league in Austin Matthews. John Tavares, when they made a move to bring him in, he was one of the top 10 players in the league. And you still can't get over the hump. You can't play in the Eastern Conference Finals. You can't even play in the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, it's crazy how bad the Maple Leafs have been over the last, I don't know, decade.
And then, Eddie, you mentioned Canada. Then you have Edmonton in the West with two of the 5 best players in the league, and they still can't. They only got to the Western Conference Finals once.
But they still get there. I mean, Toronto has Austin Matthews. You can argue he's the second or third best player in the league right now.
They don't have a goalie to take him there, though.
Yeah, but a lot of teams don't have a goalie. And you know this, Eddie, when it comes to the playoffs, there's probably, out of all these teams that make it, there's 8 teams that make it in the East. There's 8 teams that make it in the West. There's 16 teams in all. I would probably say 7 out of those 16 teams have good goalies. 7. And the Boston Bruins have 2 of them.
Yep.
They have 2 of them. And the Islanders actually have 2 of them too. And the Rangers. The Rangers have Jonathan Quick, who's won 3 Stanley Cups. I know everybody's going to say, well, he won 3, but when he was over there with the Golden Knights, he barely played. But he still won 3 of them. And he's one of the greatest American goaltenders to ever play. So, I mean, it's crazy, man. You know this, Eddie. I mean, it's not easy to find a great goaltender and a goaltender that actually plays well in big games.
Yeah. And but when you look at the Stanley Cup winners from like the last years, I mean, you have Hill that stood on his head last year, right?
I couldn't believe that. Wow.
Kind of unexpected. Mm-hmm. He's always like had that game in him, right? Like Colorado won. I don't think it was thanks to Kemper that they won, right? But he still played like good when he had to. Mm-hmm. But like they just had such a good team in general, right? And then
how about St. Louis? You
have back-to-back Vasilevsky. You have Binnington. I mean, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, really, Tampa's the only exception to that right now with Vasilevsky.
You know, I never even thought of that. That's a good point, Eddie. I mean, when you look at some of these teams that have won Stanley Cups, most of these teams, they didn't have an elite goalie, and they still found they got a hot goalie that goes on these hot streaks. I mean, Binnington, I remember I was there at the Stanley Cup Finals in Boston, and Boston fans, you know, went from game 4 and game 5. Boston fans were like sitting there saying, "Oh, we got this," and Binnington was standing on his head. He was making saves that I couldn't even believe.